We are live. Welcome, guys, back to another edition of the Earle Sports Bet Show. And today, we're going to recap what happened in football this weekend, some playoff picture stuff. I'll give out some free picks. It's probably not going to be a super long show just because today is actually a small day. I've only got 9 plays on the site. So it's actually a very small card today. We'll quickly tap on more. We're going to look more at college football for today, and some stuff going on in that for playoff picture, for conference tournaments coming up, what happened last week, and we'll go from there. Where these teams will rank ultimately in the college football playoff picture, or where I think they could possibly land in that. We get a supness from Mr. Lex. We're also live on TikTok. We're back after another 3-day ban for gambling. Fuck you, TikTok. We're just talking sports. Where, yes, I'll mention some teams that I like to win and some plays I like, but I'm not telling people to gamble. So TikTok, please stop banning me. I would like to be able to grow my channel. Thank you. But we'll see. We'll see how it goes with the TikTok. We'll see how long I can be live for. We'll quickly look back at. We'll quickly mention the Pub Sports Radio contest. It was not a great week. We went 2-3. Still happen to be in first place. So that's nice to see that we're still in first place in that PSR contest. Yesterday, during the 1 o'clock card, all but 2 dogs covered the spread. I'll let you take a guess on which dogs didn't cover the spread and then which dogs we had in the contest. So annoyed with that one. Because yesterday we had the Titans. We had the Browns. And then the Commanders. So the Commanders took care of business last night, barely. But we're still first place in that, so that's nice to see. No 5-0 weeks, which is interesting to see as well. But we're still we got 25 picks left, and this is going to be fun down the stretch. We're the only people in there with at least 39 wins, so bada bing, bada boom. There's the current standings for the contest. 76 entries. We're battling. We're battling. I love it. So we'll see how. Hopefully the contest can end well. I'm not entirely sure how much it is to first place because I keep asking and I never really get an answer. But see how it goes. 25 picks left, ready to roll into next week as well. We'll say Browns. Yes, Browns were not a good play. Good job. I recognize that one. College football from last week. We look back at the ranked teams, what they did. Indiana finishes off their undefeated regular season, winning 56-0 against Purdue. So, complete blowout there. Indiana's the number 2 team in the nation, and they're going to be competing with Ohio State in the Big Ten championship game. Texas upsets Texas A&M 27-17. A&M suffers their first loss of the year. So that's going to be a very interesting note to bring into what are they going to do with Texas, although there are 3 losses. Although they're 2 of their losses, or 1 loss was to Georgia, which is currently going to be in the SEC championship game. 1 loss is to undefeated Ohio State, and then the other one was Florida, which is unexcusable, just unexcusable. I don't care. Honestly, Texas, goodbye. See you later. Georgia, an ugly win, but a win nonetheless. That was 16-9 versus Georgia Tech. So Georgia Tech would have covered the spread. But they finish off the year 11-1. We'll see them in Athens next week for the SEC championship game. Ole Miss takes care of Mississippi State. Ole Miss is going to be another question mark for the playoff. The only reason why is Lane Kifflin is taking the job at LSU, and he did it right before the playoffs. I'm honestly, it pisses me off to see coaches leave right before playoffs because we saw, I believe, Tulane's head coach left. USF's not doing anything. They're just a bowl game. But like some coaches that are still in the playoff conversation are leaving. Why? That's so stupid. Cannot stand it. So Ole Miss is going to be a big question mark because if you left Florida State out for not having their quarterback in a playoff, Ole Miss is not going to have their coach. What are we thinking? What are we thinking there? Utah takes care of business. They finish off the year 10-2 with the win over Kansas. I'm not really sure if we're going to be able to talk them into it because we're barely able to talk BYU into the playoff. And they're 11-1, so it's kind of stupid. Arizona gets their win against Arizona State, but really kind of who cares? Arizona was a 3-loss team already. Arizona State got their 4th loss. Just not really – those two teams kind of back end of the rankings. Who cares? Ohio State throttles Michigan 27-9. Takes care of business there. They finished off their undefeated season. It's their first win against Michigan since 2019. So they're going to be the number 1 team in the nation at the moment, and it'll be determined between them and Indiana who gets that number 1 seed in the college football playoff, and the other one will get number 2. Max Man says, so everyone has an opinion, but if I was them, they would do the same behind it, $12 million a year. Yes, but when you just brought your team, like Ole Miss actually had a shot at a national championship this year, and you go, fuck them, let me go take the money. What does that say about you? Like, what does that say about you as a coach? That you're going to bring your team all the way there and then go, yeah, who cares? Because they actually had a shot. You give them the 6 seed, 5-6 seed, and all of a sudden, just like all of a sudden they're there. It's just like, and you just leave. Like that doesn't. I know money talks, but it's still frustrating. Yeah, that's my big thing. It's just it's stupid to see coaches leave. And like when your team is that close. Audrey saying, I faded your picks and made money. Congratulations. I know I did not have a good weekend. Cool. Congratulations. What Aubrey, what's the purpose of that comment? Like, I don't understand the purpose of your comment. Congratulations. Like, you want a cookie, a gold star, a sticker. I don't know. What's the point in that comment? Just out of curiosity, besides being a dick. But we'll go back to college football games this weekend. Texas Tech took care of business versus West Virginia. They win 49-0. Texas Tech makes the championship game. I personally had them to make the championship game. That was plus 260. Now I have them plus 600 to win the Big 12. And they're minus 11.5. I gave out all of those during a free pick video in August. I said Texas Tech. And now I'm probably going to be riding Texas Tech through the playoffs. Oregon takes care of business against Washington. My Oregon ticket to miss the playoff from a couple of weeks ago. Not going to get there. They finished 11-1. They win by double digits in Washington, so good win for them there. If they would have lost that game, could have made the argument for them missing, but unfortunately, they take care of business. I had Washington in that game, so loser there. It is what it is. Oklahoma takes care of business against LSU, although they win 17-13 against a coachless, like a backup interim coach or whatever for LSU. So not really an impressive win, but they did take care of business. Notre Dame takes care of business against Stanford. Notre Dame's another question mark for whether or not they make the playoffs. Yes, they're 10-2. Yes, they're a top 10 team. What are they going to value? Alabama, 10-2. They beat Auburn 27-20. Ugly win because that game was close. So not really a great win for Alabama. They will play in the SEC championship game because of Texas A&M losing to Texas. So you'll see Alabama in the SEC championship game. If they win, they should be in the playoff. If they lose, I'm going to say no to a 3-loss Alabama team. I don't care. Like, even if they lose the college football in their SEC championship game, no, I don't think a 3-loss team deserves to be in the playoff when there's a chance that you leave an 11-1 BYU team out, which is stupid. No, I do not believe a 3-loss Bama team should get in there. BYU takes care of business, although they were down 14-0 early, which I was kind of happy about because I had UCF plus 17.5. And, of course, the game ends 41-21, so they lose. The BYU wins by 20. Did not cover, but it is what it is. But BYU finishes 11-1. They will play in the Big 12 championship game versus Texas Tech, so that should be fun. 5-star center, appreciate it. Let's say, yo, what's up? If BYU wins against Texas Tech, obviously they're in. If they lose, I still think they should get in. Like, this is a BYU team that if your only losses were 2 losses to Texas Tech, who's going to be most likely a top four team in the college football playoff, then you should probably get in. I'm all for BYU getting in. Ben Churro, 22.5 plus points, I'm guessing. A crazy take. I think the Magic score points tonight. I took their team total, so yeah, I'm kind of down for that. I won't talk you off Ben Churro points. We'll go. We got 6 more ranked games to talk about. Miami takes care of Pittsburgh on the road. All of a sudden, Miami's in the playoff picture. They're going to be 10-2, although they're not going to be playing in the ACC championship game. But a 38-7 win, definitely an impressive win against a Pittsburgh team that just took care of business against Georgia Tech. So very interesting to see their thoughts on Miami. Vanderbilt, they're 10-2. Really good win from Vanderbilt. They win by 21 points in Tennessee. So Vanderbilt, another one of those teams that could be an at-large for the SEC championship. Not SEC championship, but a playoff spot. I think that Vanderbilt definitely has some qualities to get in. A win versus Tennessee. They had they had wins versus like Missouri, LSU before they kind of fell off the face of the earth. Their 2 losses are to Bama and Texas, so we'll see with that. I think there's an argument for Vanderbilt. I really do. USC finishes off their season 9-3 with a 29-10 win versus UCLA. No, USC is not making it into the college football playoff. I don't think so. 3-loss team should never get in. USC, not USC. Yeah, they just said Virginia and Virginia Tech. Virginia wins by 20, putting themselves in the ACC championship game. They finished the year 7-1 in the ACC and 10-2 overall. That loss to NC State's really looking not great now. Their only losses were to NC State and to Wake Forest, which is kind of an ugly loss. They will face Duke in the ACC championship game, which is actually kind of crazy. Why will they face Duke? Because SMU loses on the road to Cal. Yeah. So SMU falls. If SMU would have beaten Cal, they're in the playoff. Or they're in the ACC championship game and a chance to go back to the playoff. They don't. And then the final game was Tulane versus Charlotte. Tulane wins 27-0. They were 33-point favorites in that game. Tulane will head to the American Conference Championship game. They will host North Texas. I believe North Texas is actually favored in that game, so that's actually interesting to see. Charlotte finished off the year 1-11. My over 2.5 wins came nowhere close. That team was god-awful, and I loved it. But Tulane, and we're going to have a very interesting predicament with the college football playoff. So, one thing I want to look at for the playoff is who do we think is going to be in? Like, I'm gonna type in now. I feel like we're gonna get I feel like we got 4 teams that are locked in. Like it. I'm gonna share. I got a note page. I got a notepad thing. Window notepad. If I had to go and say, hey, these teams locked in. And that would include Ohio State, Indiana, Georgia, and Texas Tech. Those guys, even if Georgia loses in the SEC championship game, they're a 2-loss team, they're still in. Even if Texas Tech loses in the Big 12 championship game, they're a 2-loss team, they're in. Either one of these 2 teams, one's going to be undefeated, one's going to be 1 loss. They're both in. So, and that realistically, if it doesn't matter who wins that game, they should be they'll be 1-3 or 1-4 maybe. But like Ohio State, say if Ohio State beats Indiana, Ohio State's number 1. If Georgia wins the SEC championship game, they're number 2. If Texas Tech wins the Big 12, they're number 3. And then I would put Indiana at 4. Like I feel like that's how that would roll. Just because those teams won their championship game, and I give them the thing. But those, in theory, should be your top 4. I feel like that's pretty fair. Then we look at teams that will be in as well. Oregon, Texas A&M. I'm going to put Ole Miss question mark just because we'll see what they do in terms of their coaching situation. I think it's really, really interesting. But if they don't care about the coach, 11-1, they're in. Then, so that's 7 of the teams. We got to figure out 8, 9, and 10. And 8, 9, and 10 will be between Oklahoma, will be between Notre Dame, Alabama, obviously. They would have to win. They would have to win the SEC championship in order to get it, in my opinion. BYU and Miami, and 3 of those teams are going to get in. And I could even put Vandy in there. Like 3 out of those 6 teams will get in. Now, I don't know which one of those. We'll talk about that group in a minute. And then 11 and 12. 11 will be UVA. So Virginia. If Virginia, they have to be ACC champs. I believe that. If Virginia wins, they get in. If Duke wins, oh well, we got 2 scenarios. One is UVA wins the ACC, they're in, and then whoever wins North Texas and Tulane's in. The other option, Duke wins. If Duke wins, then you've got AAC champ and JMU. Those are the 2 scenarios for the 11-12. I don't see anybody else getting in those spots. Nobody else should have an argument to get into those spots just because Navy won't have a chance. Even though Navy is ranked in the AP top 25, they won't have a chance because North Texas and Tulane are ranked higher than them, and both of those teams are going to be in the conference tournament, conference championship. They won't. But when it comes to it, those are going to be the teams that are going to be in the championship or in the playoff. And if I had to take a guess on who they're going to end up picking for it, the last, so we got 7 here. I got to get 8, 9, and 10. I think if they're going to do it right now, it's going to be Oklahoma at 8, Notre Dame at 9. They're going to give Alabama the 10 just to make it worth it for the college football playoff to go there. And then I believe it'll be BYU, Miami, Vandy. And that I have a feeling that's how it's going to end up shaping up. And it sucks because I believe BYU deserves to be in. Now, it's only because I still don't understand. BYU, I feel like, does deserve to be in the playoff. They're 11-1. Their one loss was on the road to Texas Tech. Other than that, they've been winning by double digits against pretty much everybody besides Arizona at Arizona, and they won by 3 against Utah. And they won by 3 against Colorado. Other than that, they've been winning by double digits against everybody. And as they should, and they've had one of the toughest strength of schedules. BYU gets in my opinion. But I'm just thinking of what the committee is going to do. I have a feeling when the committee comes out and makes their picks, this is going to be kind of what you're going to be looking at. Ohio State, Indiana, Georgia, Texas Tech as the top 4, or what should be the top 4. I think Texas Tech gets in over Oregon, in my opinion. Oregon, Texas Tech, Oregon, Texas A&M, and Ole Miss will get 6 through 7 or 5 through 7, and then when it comes to it, I think it's going to end up being Oklahoma, Notre Dame, Alabama, and then if it comes to it, I think in order for Miami or Vanderbilt to get in my opinion, you're going to need BYU to lose to Texas Tech, and you're going to need Alabama to lose. If both of those two lose, then there's an avenue for Miami and Vanderbilt to get into the playoff. No, there's not. There's only room for one of them. I still think Vandy over Miami, but that's just me. But we've got a very interesting discussion for all that, and we'll kind of check in with it more after championship weekend. We will talk about it, but that's going to be pretty much that. So let me guys know what you guys think will be happening for the college football playoff. I'm going to give predictions. I have not capped any of these games yet. We'll talk about that in a minute. North Texas and Tulane could be a very interesting matchup. North Texas is favored on the road, which is very interesting to see. Although the line opened up at a 3, it's moved down to a 2.5. I have a feeling Tulane probably takes care of business in that one. You look at North Texas and who they've beaten this year, and I don't really have a good win for North Texas this year. They've beaten, Lamar, which is their FCS school, Western Michigan, Wazoo, Army, South Alabama. Their one ranked game that they played at the time was against USF. They lost. They beat UTSA on the road, or at home, I should say. Charlotte, whoop-de-doo. Navy, which is a nice win, but Navy is probably their best win. UAB, Rice, and Temple. So, yes, they look good. Plus, you also got to keep in mind, North Texas, I believe, lost their quarterback. And that's going to be I think Tulane probably wins that game. That's why I'm gonna go and say Tulane wins the American. Texas Tech and BYU. I have Texas Tech plus 600 to win the Big 12 championship from August, so I'm going to be probably invested in them. Well, I'm already invested in them. They're 13.5-point favorites against BYU. That's just very tough to see BYU win that game. That is in a neutral site, but it's in Arlington, Texas. So I don't really see that as a neutral site, but it is what it is. I think Texas Tech probably takes care of business. 13.5 is a big number, but they did win by, 29-7 against them? They won 29-7 against BYU earlier in the year. So, yeah, I have a feeling Texas Tech probably takes care of business in that one. Georgia and Alabama is interesting. I'm going to go and make the crazy assumption. Ready? Bama wins just because the SEC wants to get as many teams in there as possible. I just don't see the SEC letting Georgia win and essentially knocking Alabama out of the playoff. I think if you watch that game, it's going to be extremely skewed towards Alabama. I'm probably taking Bama money line. Like, that's probably a spot that I need to go and look at Bama, because at the same time, I feel like it could be very similar to what's going to happen in the ACC championship game, just because they want to get their school in there. Yeah, if they know that, because obviously, yes, SEC is going to have Georgia, A&M, Ole Miss, Oklahoma, and Alabama in there. So, or 6 teams possibly in the college football playoff. They're going to want Bama in there to keep that 6 teams instead of bringing it down to 5. So I have a feeling if you watch that game, it's going to be a little bit skewed. Do we have any line movement on that game? Georgia's already up to 2.5 though from the open. I don't know. That's going to be tricky. I just have a weird feeling that Bama wins that game. Yeah, I have a feeling that Bama's going to end up winning the SEC. I can get money lined at plus money, so I'm probably going to look at that. Indiana and Ohio State. I think Ohio State probably wins that game. They're 5.5-point favorites, really not saying much. With Ohio State, ultimately that game means nothing. If I'm being completely honest, that game means absolutely nothing, because sure, the only thing you're fighting for is the 1 seed in the college football playoff. Whoever wins that game is going to be the 1 seed. Whoever loses that game, what are they going to be? 3 or 4? I don't really see a big difference in it. So that game really does not matter. I can understand why the college game day is going to Alabama, Georgia, and I'm banned on TikTok. I need to figure out a way to. I gotta figure out a way to talk to TikTok people. Anyways, that Ohio State Indiana game means nothing, practically. Duke and Virginia. That line's gone from 2.5 to 3.5. I still think Duke covers. I have a feeling that it's going to be Duke covers, but Virginia wins, just because they want to get that money. Virginia's the same deal with Alabama versus Georgia. I think the reffing in that game is going to be awful, or it's going to be tilted towards Virginia, just because they're going to want to get Virginia in the college football playoff so that the ACC has representation. Because no, I don't think Miami belongs in the playoff. So I think Virginia is going to end up winning. Well, we'll see where the college football committee puts teams. If Miami's in the playoffs, then that might not matter as much. And then it might be a Virginia play to begin with. But if they don't put Miami in the picture, ACC is going to do everything they can to get Virginia in the playoffs. So that's the way I'm going to look at it. That is championship weekend. And then we'll go from there. But that's going to do it for this edition of the Earle Sports Bet Show. I will be back again. I think I'm going to end up having a miss tomorrow, just because I'm going to be making a quick trip out to Raleigh for Destiny. Other than that, I should be back on Wednesday. So I'll see you guys. I might do a show. If I do a show, it's going to be earlier tomorrow. Probably 10 o'clock tomorrow or something like that, if I can. If not, then it'll be back on Wednesday. I'll see you guys then.